Hey, Magic friends, welcome back. This is your captain speaking here on Captain Clyde's MTG, and holy cow, we finally got some new cards leaked out of the last 9 or so that we have left. And because of that, there's only 2 or 3 cards left that we haven't actually seen from the set, so God knows when they're going to creep out there. But let's get into that, and also, there's an increase in shipping costs. So, before we get into it, don't forget, guys, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I appreciate all the help. Those who've subscribed, thank you again. Those who haven't, now's a good chance if you happen to skip past this part, which you probably did. But anyway, so moving right along, we're going to start with our 4 cards. Our very first card that was leaked was Exuberant Fuseling. So this is a 1 mana 0/1 with Trample. Now it gets +1/+0 for each oil counter on it, and when it enters the battlefield, it starts with 1, so you get a 1/1 Trampler for 1. The benefit to this is when another creature or artifact you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, put an oil counter on the Fuseling. Um, this seems okay, although I don't think it's going to be all that great. Only because stuff going to the graveyard is a lot harder in standard than it is in older formats. Now, in older formats, this may be something worth playing. But since it's only +1/+0, it might be a bit hard to work with. Also, too, creatures and artifacts going to the graveyard. Eh. With that said, though, let's also remember that Red Rush has creatures that go to the graveyard all the time. And if you're doing nothing but pumping creatures into your graveyard, that includes tokens, this thing will eventually get big enough to trample through for the win. So it does have its merits. It's going to depend on the format, how the format plays out. Because remember, yes, it has trample, but it can also, with 1 toughness, die very easily. Especially with older formats, we have things like Fatal Push and the likes, and it only costing 1 mana. Very easy for just to throw this thing in the graveyard. So we'll have to wait and see how it plays out as an uncommon. My personal opinion, I think at best it's going to be a limited player. Now onto the juicy stuff. Ichor Gauntlet. So blue and 2 for a mythic. Now, this is an artifact that just sits on the board. But what it does, it gives your planeswalkers the ability to, for 0, proliferate, and for -12, take an extra turn after this one. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, choose a counter on a target permanent, put an additional counter on that kind of permanent. By looking at this and how these are put on the card, the thing almost looks fake. I'm not even going to lie. With that said, if this is real, which I think it is, this is absurdly powerful. This is a card that sits on the battlefield and lets you proliferate. I mean, that's basically what it might as well say. Non-creature spell, choose a counter on target permanent, put an additional counter on it. I mean, you can't put counters on like your opponent. At least I don't think you can. Your opponent's not. I mean, technically he's a permanent, but I don't think that's what that means in the game. But we're talking planeswalkers. We're talking oil counters, +1/+1, -1/-1, loyalty counters. I mean, you name it. This is a free proliferate card. So think about this. This is in the color with the fairy, where for 0 you draw a card, and every card you draw puts a counter on him. Already busted. Already a serious issue. But if he had the ability at -12 to give you an extra turn, sweet mother in Christ. Uh, or any planeswalker for that matter that comes out that's got high loyalty and a low casting cost. Um, Now, granted, you can only do this, you know, once per planeswalker. But the thing about this is because it's 1 blue, it's splashable, which means this can give your other planeswalkers and stuff that don't have the ability to get +1/+1 counters the ability to get +1/+1 counters. So stay with me, if you will. Imagine this being on the playfield, or imagine this getting put onto the playfield when your opponent has a Nahiri. The blue one that only takes down and doesn't let you draw extra cards. Imagine if that thing could suddenly, once every 3 turns, get a card out of the deck because it proliferates itself up and prevents your opponent from drawing cards. I mean, oh my god. It's in the same colors as all the Teferi cards that everybody loves to complain about. And I'm not going to lie, there's a lot to complain about. But those have plus abilities that aren't necessarily bad enough that you'd rather proliferate. But imagine if you were playing Nahiri and a second Planeswalker. Now all of a sudden, you got 2 Planeswalkers on the field, and you have one of those uncommon Planeswalkers that doesn't have an uptick ability or a Planeswalker with a plus up period. You can use your other Planeswalkers tick, and instead of the one ticking down because it doesn't tick up, it proliferates and raises the counters on all the Planeswalkers. This card is insane. I know I've said it before. Think about this in Commander. Like if you're playing Commander and you don't look at this card, you don't start drooling immediately. I don't know what you're doing in your life because this thing is busted. All right, so I've spent plenty of time on it. I gave you lots of scenarios. I'm sure you guys are thinking of them right now. Put them down in the comment section. If this thing is real, sweet mother of God, is this going to be out of hand? And is this going to be expensive? If you find this somewhere for less than $20 or $20 or less, I would definitely buy this because this is going to be $60. I mean, I'm probably off on that, but I bet you money not by much. Oh my lord. So moving on. Next we have, however the hell you say that name, Inquiry of Dominus. So this is the blue Dominus card, 2 blue and 2 for a 3/5 flyer, not bad. Um, Again, if you would proliferate twice instead. We just went over a card that lets you do proliferation on Planeswalkers. This will let you do it twice. Just good. And for 4 mana, 3/5 is hard to kill. You know, you can remove 3 counters from it. Remove 3 counters from artifacts, creatures, and planeswalkers you control. Put a indestructible counter on it, which is also good. Like, are we back to just all the blue decks or what everybody's going to play again? I mean, are we done with the black phase now and we're moving on to blue? Does that mean when we get to March of the Machines, we're going to move to the white phase? Like, is that what we're going to do now? We're just picking colors that we're going to overpower every set? But yeah, so this is a great mythic as well. If you're playing Commander, you should be playing this just because proliferate twice. I mean, come on. 3/5 flyer, 4 mana. Oh my god. This is going to see standard play and probably play in older formats. I know it's 4 mana, but that doesn't matter. This has the ability to set some decks off. So think about that. This card is amazing. Um, yeah, I mean, I think the artifact that lets people proliferate, lets the planeswalkers proliferate, plus this card is going to be a blue deck of some way, shape, or form. We just gotta wait and figure out what it looks like. So yeah. So after that, we're going to round it out with this monstrosity of God, um, Phyrexian Champion. It says 5 white here. Here it shows 4 in the picture. There's lots. Let me just say up front. There's lots of translation errors here. It looks like it's 4 white. If it's 5 white, that's a little better. Although it looks like it's just 4. With that said, this is a Phyrexian Horror. It says if damage will be dealt to Phyrexian Champion, prevent that damage. When damage is prevented this way, it deals that much damage to any target. Good God. I mean, this thing can just pick things off if it gets dealt damage, and you can't kill it with damage. It's insane. And also, the reason why I say that this is probably a typo with this, I think it's 4 white, is because if this was translated wrong, that means this is wrong. And why is this wrong? Here's why. You see this right here? Flyagen. This is German. That's not here. This means to fly, which means for 4 white, if it is 4 white, you get a 5/5 flyer that can only be killed by a source of non-direct damage or not a source of non-damage. Like you have to have a card that says destroy, exile, something. You're not bolting this twice. It's not working. If that's the case and it's 4 white, this thing is again another insane card. I mean, like if these cards are real, like they really save the best for last because these are just freaking bonkers. Every one of them, well, except for the uncommon. But yeah, these are nuts. And I didn't go through and check the um, the wording for all this. I just noticed that this was here like a keyword, and then there's this, and it's not listed over here. So this is flying, and if this is right, it's a flying 5/5 that can't be killed by damage. The real question is it 4 mana or 5 white mana? If it's 5 white mana, that's probably fine too. If it's 4 white mana, oh my lord, which from the picture looks like it's 4 white mana. So we've had some doozies today, guys. Sweet love of God, are these insane. And on a final note, just to let you guys know, I was shipping some packages today through eBay. As you guys know, eBay lets you buy uh, through them and print labels and so forth. The normal shipping price used to be 57 cents. I'm sorry, 54 cents. They raised it to 57. We did a video on that because of returns and probably some other things. It has now been raised again to 60 cents, which means all three levels of shipping on eBay has been increased by 3 cents again. It's been less than a year since the last increase. This is obviously inflation along with a lot of other things. And this is going to start making cards a lot more expensive to get online just because eventually it's going to cost so much to ship that I'm not going to lie to you. You'd be better off getting in your car and driving to your local game store because you'll be able to save $2 or $3 just because you won't have to be charged shipping. I mean, currently right now people don't charge shipping, but if that's the cost is because of the shipping, that means the cards are going to cost more online than they would in person. That's just how it works, guys. So heads up for that. Keep an eye on it. So without further ado, guys, thanks a lot for watching. I do appreciate it. Until next time, be kind. And man, I can't wait to see you across from the game table because this set is bonkers. Holy cow.